Alright. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are in this final segment of this khutbah number 17 from Nahj al-Balaghah. If you remember, I can take you back to the beginning of this khutbah, that we had divided it into three portions. First two portions were highlighting the attributes of those who had assumed the position of judiciary, of course, without being properly equipped with knowledge to run it and govern it. So Imam talks about these groups. The first group consists of those who knowingly follow the path of misguidance. And the second group includes arrogant individuals posing as scholars. So we were talking about second group. We discussed three of their attributes. And inshallah we'll mention three more of their attributes. And then we'll conclude with this last portion where Imam ﷺ complains to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not like literally a shikayat that Imam is saying, oh Allah, why this, but rather that Allah, these people are like that. And this is sort of like zaban-e-hal, where Imam is just saying this, that what he feels is happening in the society and how this should be corrected as well. So let me take you to the three attributes that Imam talked about in the second portion. Those who are posing as ulama and scholars. All right. So this is where we talked about these three. The first description that Imam had given, powerfully and vividly he portrays the condition of these people, calling them that he's an arrogant, ignorant person, lost and bewildered in the darkness of ignorance. Second, Imam says, he has never acquired knowledge and learning in the proper manner. And lastly, he is like a strong wind that aimlessly scatters broken plants in every direction. All of these are similes, metaphors that Imam is using in order to explain the reality on ground by using these different types of metaphors. And eloquent at the same time. That's why this is peak of eloquence. That's why this is Nahj al-Balaghah. Now, we continue with this. Imam mentions three more of these people and their attributes. So the fifth, or rather the fourth attribute that Imam mentions, he says, La maliyun wallahi isdar ma warada alayhi, that by God, this arrogant fool is neither reliable for solving the issues that come his way, nor worthy of the praise. Wala ahlun lima furrida bihi, nor that he is, nor worthy of the praise that flatterers heap upon him. So here you understand, a lot of time you find these followers, these people who are your flatterers. They come in, they flatter you, they praise you, unworthy praise, something that you don't even have. They come and they start praising you. MashaAllah, what a beautiful, lecture you gave, or what a beautiful talk you gave. This was mesmerizing. I've never heard a lecture like this. Someone might come to me and say the same. I've never heard anything like this before. That was amazing. That was beautiful. That was this. And what does that do to me? It makes me expand my chest, pump my chest, and I'm like, okay, this is the best. No one is close to me as far as this, giving lectures is concerned, or anything that I'm good at, for example. I'm an average person at that. I'm good at it. But now someone is coming in, giving this sometimes you would have good and bad, chances, but all the time someone is coming and praising you this way. This gives you what? This wrong notion that you're on top of the world, that you are best at it. Here, unfortunate part that Imam is referring to these people, go back in history, it is evident that solving judicial problems, you become the head of judiciary, you become Khalifatul Muslimin, now under you is the government. As the jurists say, referring branches back to their principles, requires an immense scientific foundation that these arrogant, ignorant were lacking. This lack of knowledge, here Imam ﷺ uses the word, maliyun wallahi bi isdar ma warada alayhi. And then that this person who is lacking in this knowledge and who's lacking in this foundation causes them to falter in facing challenges. Now they will get away with, small tasks, things that are not really challenging, they'll get away with those things. But the moment they're facing the real problem, the moment a real challenge comes in their face, this is where they will falter and they will make a mistake. And Imam ﷺ again uses the entry and the exit are used as opposites over here, referencing to the phrase commonly seen in the scholarly expressions where they say that a certain person is knowledgeable and well informed, fully understanding how to navigate issues. So when someone has that fully informed and equipped with how to navigate, this person is sound. However, the individual under discussion in this khutbah of Nahj al-Balaghah, due to their lack of substance, they might know superficial words. I think I alluded to it last time as well. Someone might memorize certain terminologies of a subject just to impress the person in front. So you come over here, you've heard some things about fiqh and usul-e-fiqh. Here I sit and I can impress you with the words and the terminologies that are used in usul-e-fiqh. And right away there'll be, if you have some more interest in it, you'll be impressed by it. But if I don't have any substance to back that up, the shallowness and the emptiness that will be revealed in front of those who have a little bit of knowledge. It's unfortunate, I don't want to give this example. A lot of time people whom we place on the mimbar, we have high respect for them, high regard for them, that they are knowledgeable enough that they're sitting on the mimbar. But then a lot of time they're just saying things which the previous scholars have said, which is a good thing. They're repeating, at least they're not concocting and bringing something from their own bag of tricks. That's also good enough. But then sometimes they're lacking that substance. That shallowness shows in their speech. So one of the misfortunes of such individuals is that a group flatters them, makes them brag and boast and, pump their chest and all that stuff, seeking gains and the worldly wealth. These people engage in excessive praise and exaggeration, attributing to them qualities they do not deserve at all. That's what Imam is saying over here regarding this passage. He said, at first, they enjoy these shameless lies, even though they know they are false. Gradually, however, they come to believe in them. Of course, if someone is constantly praising you for something, what are you going to start believing? I must have something. That's why they're praising me. I must possess something. I should not underestimate myself. I should not take myself lightly. I must have something that these people are coming and constantly praising me on my face. This is the peak of their misfortune, which closes all the paths of salvation before them. Then in the fifth description, Imam ﷺ adds, this unfortunate individual cannot believe that there is knowledge beyond what he knows, or that there might be an option different or opinion different from what he has understood. لا يحسب العلم في شيء مما أنكره ولا يرى أن من وراء ما بلغ مذهبا لغيره. That now because this person is brought by the flatterers to the point where he thinks that he's alamul ulama, the most knowledgeable of all the ulama. This person now, and I'm just giving example of my, type of people, but you can take this to every other expert field as well. That now this person thinks that he's alamul ulama, the most knowledgeable. Right away, if a differentiating opinion is given to them, if another opinion comes about, they think that knowledge is all with them. Anything else that comes in front has no value. So therefore, Imam says, La yahsabu. He does not think that there's knowledge beyond what he knows. I thought I knew everything. I thought I had understood everything. I thought I had, if knowledge was 100 sections, I had all of the 100 sections. Tick mark. Oh, there's more? There's more to this ilm? There's more to understanding? And there are other varying opinions? I had no idea. This is, in fact, a result of narrow-mindedness. When someone thinks that their opinion is the final opinion and their knowledge is the most at the peak of the knowledge, that's narrow-mindedness. That's, where a person is limited knowledge and their awareness, where a person considers themselves to be absolute authority and denies anything beyond their understanding. I don't know if you've come across people like this. I certainly have. In fact, even amongst the mu'mineen in our communities, when you tell them some mas'ala, they're like, oh, I'm 60 years old and I've never heard something like this. Welcome to the club. You're 60 years old, you've never heard something like this. I've been listening to majalis for the past 45 years. I've never heard this mas'ala. Welcome to the club. Not everything is mentioned from the member. There are many masail that you don't know, you're not aware of. Oh, and then of course, right away they start challenging. Where does it say in Quran? If there was something like this, we would have heard of it. Oh, is there a hadith about it? Can you show us that? Forget about hadith, they never even go to hadith. Because they label all the hadith to be questionable. Right away, when you bring a hadith, they say, wow, what's the inference to this hadith? It could be da'if. It just recently happened. I recited some masaib of Hazrat Ali Akbar. And the famous masaib of Hazrat Ali Akbar, where he, was on the horse as he entered into the maqtal after a long fight. When he comes back to Imam, then he goes back the second time. Now he's really thirsty, tired, heat. He complains of that to Imam. He said, I'm thirsty. I wish you could give me some water. This zira, shield is killing me. It's so hot. Imam says, go back and do a little bit more qital, and inshallah, Saqi Kausar will quench your thirst. He comes back. And while he was fighting, when enemy attacked him, there came a time that Hazrat Ali Akbar fell, and he, didn't come on the ground yet, but he held the horse in a way that the horse was blinded. Horse couldn't see what's in front. So instead of the horse pulling Ali Akbar out of maqtal, went further inside the maqtal. And when he went further inside the maqtal, this is where Hazrat Ali Akbar found himself to be surrounded by the enemies. When they were all surrounding him, they started attacking him. And of course, this is where he calls upon his father. Then Imam comes and all the enemies scatter, and then Imam picks up his son. So I recited this. After Majlis, someone came up and said, Maulana, how can the horse make a mistake? Horse of Hazrat Ali Akbar. How can he make a mistake? He, instead of going out, he went inside the maqtal. I say, it's a horse. And we're not calling this to be a mistake. He was blindsided. His eyes were covered. Instead of taking out his rider away from the enemy, he brought him further inside the enemy's lines. He said, no, the horse cannot make a mistake. Horse of Imam cannot make a mistake. I said, first of all, this is not a horse of Imam. If you want to attribute that, horse of Imam may have more, insight. This is the horse of Hazrat Ali Akbar. And secondly, it's an animal at the end of the day with a master who's, of course, either infallible or close to infallibility. So he's respectful of his master. But at the same time, you don't expect the horse not to make any mistakes. He said, no, this does not sit well with the masaib that we have heard. I said, well, welcome. There's so many masaib that are, either fabricated, but then there's some masaib which you may not have heard before, which you're not tuned to listening to. So right away, I was able to pull out the maqtal and exact same words that the horse took Hazrat Ali Akbar into the enemies by mistake, and the enemies surrounded him, started attacking him, and that's where, it ended for him. I showed him. He's like, yes, Maulana, there's so many ahadiths. We can't trust all the ahadiths. So what can I do now? First, you didn't believe what I said, because this is something which is a very popular musibat of Hazrat Ali Akbar, that he was taken into the enemies, right inside, instead of being pulled out. Anyways, so here we see that there are a lot of things that we hear, we should be ready to hear the other opinions. And we should not think that whatever I have heard is it, and there's nothing else aside from that. So very quickly, let's just go through this. There's an ayat of Quran that talks about that as well. So ayat number 17 and 18 from Surah Zumur. So فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادَ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. So give good tidings to my servants who listen to the speech and follow the best of it. So you hear it, and then you follow whatever is the best. They choose what is good and worthy, while the arrogant ignorance speak with absolute certainty everywhere. These scholars tread carefully in matters of knowledge, knowing that the breadth and the field of knowledge far exceeds what we can imagine. Okay, sixth description that Imam gives: whenever something is unclear to him, he conceals it, for he is aware of his own ignorance. وَإِنْ أَظْلَمَ عَلَيْهِ أَمْرٌ اِقْتَتَمَ بِهِ لِمَا يَعْلَمُ مِنْ جَهْلِ نَفْسِهِ. He's aware. He knows his own shortcomings. But of course, what is he going to do now? People are going to start scolding him. Oh, you don't know this? And these flatterers who have built up such a hype for him that he can do no wrong. So for him to say, well, I'm making a mistake over here, I've made a mistake over here, I've done something wrong over here, he's going to start concealing his mistakes. Famous story of Mullah Nasruddin, that a person came to him and asked him a question. Mullah Nasruddin said, I don't know. The man said to him, you have such a huge turban on your head and you're saying you don't know? So Mullah Nasruddin took off the turban and gave it to the man. He said, you wear it. If you think this turban is going to give me knowledge. Back then everybody wore a turban. If you look at the movies that are portraying the Arabian lifestyle, everybody covered their head. Men especially, all of them were wearing some sort of turban. And now they wear, some cloths. That is to protect their head from the heat. And so turban was something which was always worn. Turban was a means of respect for them. Even in urban areas, rural areas in Pakistan and other places, they wear turbans. That is a sign of respect. In Afghanistan, for example, the leaders they wear turban. So Mullah Nasruddin took off the turban and he gave it to me. He said, if this turban is going to bring you ilm, then you go ahead and answer the question. So what does he do? This is a very clear distinction between scholars and arrogant ignorance. When a scholar encounters something ambiguous, they incorporate it into their studies. If they cannot resolve it, they benefit from others' thoughts. This is a true scholar. He said, yeah, sure, enlighten me. I don't know. So you go ahead and enlighten me. They consult with him. However, arrogant ignorant conceals it and passes by indifferently, knowing that the longer they dwell on it, the more it will lead to their disgrace. People start saying, okay, maybe he's right. So maybe he's, constantly trying to justify this thing. If you don't know, the simple, I don't know would be enough. But it takes really a courage for someone to come out and say, what? I don't know. Especially when you're in a position where people expect you to know, or you've made a hype where people expect you to know, and you say, oh, I don't know. Right away, it's a matter of shame for you. So in short, he behaves contrary to what is taught in Islamic narrations, which state that if you do not know something, if you do not know something, don't be shy. Go and learn, number one. And if someone asks you of something that you have no knowledge of, don't hesitate to openly say, I don't know. وَلَا يَسْتَحِيَنَّ أَحَدٌ مِّنْكُمْ إِذَا سُئِلَ عَمَّا لَا يَعْلَمُ أَن يَقُولَ لَا أَعْلَمُ وَلَا يَسْتَحِيَنَّ أَحَدٌ إِذَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ شَيْءٍ أَن يَتَعَلَّمُهُ. None of you should be ashamed if asked about something they do not know to say, I do not know, nor should anyone be embarrassed if they do not know something to go ahead and learn. Nothing's going to decrease in your status. If you don't know something, you say, well, I'm going to make an effort to go ahead and start learning. So acting against this advice brings harmful and painful consequences for both the individuals and the society which they live in. Imam then points out these consequences in the following sentence, summarizing it, the outcome of the actions of these ignorant, arrogant, and irreligious judges. The blood spilled by his unjust rulings cries out. And they squandered inheritances, and the squandered inheritances scream because of his judgment. It says, تَصْرُخُ مِنْ جَوْرِ قَضَائِهِ الدِّمَاءِ وَتَعُجُّ مِنْهُ الْمَوَارِيثِ. Indeed, the blood spilled because of their unjust rules and unjust judgments that they passed amongst the people. The wealth lost due to their foolish rulings cry out in silent protest. And the attentive ears of the aware can clearly hear this cry, causing them to what? Tremble inside. When a person knows that I've made terrible mistakes, I want to conceal it from the eyes of my followers and my flatterers, but I know the cries of the people who are crying silently. It's an anguish. It's hurting me from inside, causing them to tremble. Meanwhile, this arrogant, ignorant person, one shouts with drunken laughs and bravado and foolishly saying and going around, because now there's this matter of pride in him as well. Now it's a matter of keeping his own integrity intact. So all of these things then become obstacle for him to face the reality. So Imam uses two expressions, tasrukh, which means to scream, ta'uj, which means to cry out, are interesting and beautiful at the same time, as they attribute knowledge, awareness, and perception to the wrongfully shed blood and the squandered wealth, as if these lifeless entities themselves cry out. Does the wealth cry out? Imam used these two, tasrukhu min jawri qadahi dima. Do the blood cry out? Does the wealth cry out? Imam is using the verb for the blood and the verb for the wealth. Well, the wealth isn't crying. The blood isn't crying. But Imam uses it in this simile over here. Some have suggested that the word ahlun, towards the end where it says, in the past where the discussion was, is implied here, arguing that this is the guardians of the blood of the owners of the wealth who are crying out. However, this interpretation removes the subtle eloquence of Imam's statement as highlighted above. So this statement, and we'll conclude now, in any case, judges who are supposed to protect people, their sanctity, their well-being, their health, their wealth, their possessions, their properties, what are they doing? They are squandering it. They're playing with people's lives due to their arrogance and lack of piety, end up doing exactly the opposite. They destroy security and they ruin everything, as Imam points out. So this statement resembles the powerful expression of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi in his famous narration of Abu Walad, after hearing about some of the extremely unjust rulings. Imam said, في مثل هذا القضاء وشبهه تحبس السماء ماءها وتمنع الأرض بركاته. Due to such judgments and their likes, the heavens withhold their rain and the earth withholds its blessings. Similar to what Imam also said, or Imam also heard, when he was carrying the blood of Hazrat Ali Asghar in his hand. He said, well, the riwayat mentioned that Imam wanted to throw it up towards the skies, and he heard that if any of the blood reaches the sky and the heavens, not a drop of water will come down from the sky. Imam wanted to throw it on the ground. He said, if it touches the ground, not a single crop will grow out of the ground again. So, of course, Imam did not want this injustice to be done to the people that will come afterwards, that nothing grows from the ground and nothing comes from the skies. So, of course, this concludes this khutbah number 17 from Nahj al-Balaghah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to, inshallah, understand the words of Amirul Mu'mineen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bismillah.